Hey, 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 all you beautiful people out there. This is Michelle.
She's so excited about her new entry. Every week is a little bit different.
A little bit different.
Next time it's going to be like Fat Albert. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Is that what it is? Is it? Hey, hey, hey? I don't even know what it is. Hey.
I was like, who is that?
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Good Times. Jimmy from Good Times. Hey, hey, hey. Anyway. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a TV show from, I don't know,
70s.
The 70s or something.
Mm-hmm.
But he was really funny. Anyway, yeah. So it's been a week already.
Yeah.
We have run into so many things this week already. And did I tell you about Andrew's, what happened with Andrew?
No.
Well,
Do tell.
He's okay. Last
gosh.
night. So Andrew, for all of you that don't know, he's my oldest. He was just heading to the grocery store. And this is the funny part. Amelia said, will you please go to QFC instead of going to Safeway? Because Safeway is so ratchet and there's like something that they needed at QFC. He was like, yeah, no problem. So he wasn't even going to the normal place that they go.
Oh my gosh.
But he was just driving on the road and some guy comes barreling out of this parking lot where the grocery store was and like swipes him.
Was he in
T-boning.
the parking lot?
No,
he was on the road.
He was on the road.
Oh,
yeah. So the guy just came, he didn't stop. He just came out and ran right into him.
Wow.
And the other guy, his windshield shattered and the door was kind of hanging off and he took off in his car. He was actually still able to drive and he took off in his car. Of course, Andrew was able to drive too. He shouldn't have probably just because he didn't know what was going on with it, but followed him until he lost him. And the guy obviously has to live somewhere in that area because he knew his way around. But
wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's
And I mean,
bad.
here's the sad part. Andrew got the license plate number and he called in to have a police officer show up because he needed to take a report for, insurance and all that kind of stuff. And so he waited an hour and then he called back and they don't have enough people. They're down, I can't remember if it's 400 or 600 people. They're down a lot of people in the city. And a lot of this is going back to the whole time frame when they were defunding the police and they haven't really added. They've kind of got a bad reputation in Seattle, I think. And so nobody really wants to work there.
Right.
I think it's part of the problem. But
I
feel so bad for these people because they're just running around. And believe it or not, hitting someone and running is not a felony here. And that apparently changed this past year, something to do with our legislation this last year. But if they hurt somebody, then it's a felony.
Wow.
But I mean, he even got the license plate.
I'm just sitting here like, wow, this is like quite a deal. That's too bad.
I'm really glad he's okay. But the car it's not even a year old and
hit and run. Nobody to take responsibility. Yeah. Nobody to try and enforce responsibility because it's a misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. So he's just like stuck dealing with all the shit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know. Doesn't that just suck?
That's really sad.
Well, and I think especially since they know that it's the guys there, and apparently he did end up talking to a police officer. The car isn't stolen. So it's the guy, it's maybe the guy who owns the car, maybe a friend, who knows.
Yeah.
But that's why they won't even pursue it anyway, because you can't verify that the person who owns the car is the same one who hit him.
Driving.
Yeah, it's just BS. But anyway, he's okay. So our week is going to get better.
It's got to.
Because we're going to talk about a really schmecksy topic.
I don't know what it sounds like when you're saying that.
Smexy.
So
but I say schmecksy.
Because why?
My friend Dina, Dina, she's Mexican. So she says Smexican or smexy. Smexy, like smexy Mexican.
Sexy, smexy.
Yeah.
It's like a combination of both.
So now I just like to say it.
All right. Shout out to you, Dina.
Yeah.
There's a new word.
Hey, Dina.
Yeah.
My busy friend who's always out partying
Can we just
around.
talk for a minute about Travis and Taylor?
Oh my God, I love them.
Why is everybody hating on them so much?
Because they're happy.
H.
Because they're happy.
Hating on these
So here's
two.
the deal. The people that are fans, Casey fans, and Casey has gone to the Super Bowl. What is this, like the third or fourth time or something? I think it's the third time they've gone to the Super Bowl. Or I think they won twice, went 3 times. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. They've gone a lot.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelce is a stud. And he's the one scoring all the points and stuff. And he's kind of like really well thought of and well known in his league. And it's not for things that...
As is Taylor in the entertainment industry.
Well, she is like tenfold ahead of where he's at just because, she's worldwide for everything.
I mean, she's like set a lot of records this year.
She's adorable.
Yeah.
But I think people are just kind of like, let him play football. Don't focus on this because he's not going to play good football. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to play way better football if he's in love and happy. Right.
Of course, the conspiracy theorist thinks it's all set up.
Oh, yeah. Someone's rigging it or something.
Yeah. Like they're doing it because she supports Biden and it's bringing all the attention to that party. And then,
Oh, you're kidding. See, I haven't heard anything about that stuff.
No, there's a
I mean, there she is with her red signature lip and her red jacket and all excited.
I know. I just think they're adorable. And there's like so much conversation and haters out there. I was just like, what's the big deal? Just let it be.
Yeah, they have a nickname for them. Gosh, what is it? Trabte or something.
Oh, do they have a couple?
It's
like a
they
Hollywood
mix their
couple name.
Yeah,
like
they
when
mix
they
their
them
name
together.
Yeah, I think they're darling, and I hope that they're going to be they're like the golden children of football, and they're both in their 30s, and they've done so well for themselves, and they're appear to be kind people, you know. And it's like, leave them alone, let them do their thing. And I love that they're not hiding everything because, I mean, that's what you have to do probably when you're famous like that. But no, I mean, I'm not even a Swiftie.
Right, me neither.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like some of her songs. Anyway, that is the deal with them. I think people just want to leave out the Hollywood stuff. And
I know, and there were pictures after this playoff game that the Chiefs just won of Travis and Taylor kissing. You know, she's down on the field and she's got her hand, you know, so the camera doesn't see their lips, which I think is a perfect segue into our topic of discussion today.
PDA.
Hence public displays of affection.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not, I saw that too. The hand or whatever. But she also it was innocent. She gave him a kiss and a hug.
No, I know. Can you imagine, though, being a Hollywood couple like that and any display of affection that you do is always on camera?
Oh, you're under so much scrutiny.
That's like a whole other level of PDA.
Yeah.
Right there.
You can't even really be yourself.
No.
Around that. But it was so cute when he did score a couple of touchdowns this last time. He did her signature, like, you know how you make your hands into a heart?
Yeah.
He did that after. He is so whooped.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. But yeah, public displays of affection.
Yeah.
And what would people tell them to do?
Get a room.
Right.
Get a room.
Yeah, they weren't even in a get a room stage at that point.
They weren't. I think some people might think so, with it being displayed to like the whole world to see.
True.
I don't know.
Well, I guess we've seen worse, right?
Yeah.
But public displays of affection, those are things where they could be on varying levels, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Kissing or hugging or whatever, you know, is happening. And when we were talking about this before, we both have kind of different interpretations of this, probably from art growing up, is what I'm thinking. I mean, you're formed so much by the things that you learn when you're 5 to 7 years old, things you don't even remember now, but it formulates your opinions, your environment, everything.
I think that has to a certain degree, has to do with, like you just said, your upbringing. And we tend to get stuck in the fact that we grew up in very conservative households. You growing up in a Catholic household, me growing up in a Mormon household, which there's their own things in regard to affection and all that entails, not just public displays of affection. You know, there's people that just grow up in, I was just going to say, normal households.
Well, we weren't even a full-on Catholic household. My dad wasn't even Catholic, but
where they don't necessarily go to church, and really the only example that they have as far as affection and showing affection between two people is what they see with their parents if they have two in the household,
right?
You know, so obviously it does look different for everybody, but.
I think with the, you know, when you think public displays of affection and like I think of families, like parents that have their kids around and they're giving each other a kiss and stuff.
Right.
I think that's great. I mean, the kids are seeing that the parents get along. They actually like each other. And I think it probably makes them feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Well, I think it's a whole other level in the home.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like out at a movie or at the fair or whatever, holding hands.
At home, I just think of a husband and wife, and he's maybe giving her a pat on the ass, you know, in front of the kids intentionally, because they'll just be mortified, like, oh my gosh, you guys, ew. You know, but I think it's kind of cute, actually.
So how do you feel about it now? Like, how is Tate? Is he good with like smooching you in public and stuff?
Rick is not good with smooching really in public. No.
Where do you think
No.
that comes from? He's more, I wouldn't say stoic, but just more kind of quiet, observant
I just
personality.
think he is like that. And, he grew up in the South, and I'm sure, that's indicative of maybe some of that and how he grew up having to feel about showing affection outwardly and in public. Especially in a black and white situation, which is what we are. Yeah, we'll get a little bit more into that. One of the topics that we have here is interracial public displays of affection. But I mean, we hold hands, or, sometimes I'll hook my arm into his, only because he's not going to do that first. So
I mean, some people just aren't. They're just not touchy-feely. They're not,
it's really not
that way
necessary. I think it's just really, obviously, like anything, personal comfortability and choice.
Yeah.
And I think too, what you see is how you're going to feel. So if you see something that makes you uncomfortable, that you in your mind are saying those two need to get a room, then you obviously disapprove of what their level of affection is in public. So
we were talking about this before when we thought we were recording. We're re-recording because, I think Julie forgot to push the button, but that's beside the point. Technical. We just get better information now.
Yeah.
But I do think that some of that directly relates to, like we were talking before, about how you were raised or the environment that you're in. And if displays of affection of any kind, even with your parents or with your family members, were a thing.
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family is not affectionate at all. My mom's side of the family is, Latin. They were much more demonstrative with what they were doing, hugging, kissing, whatever.
Right.
And I don't remember that ever being kind of a thing. Whereas on my dad's side of the family, that would have been very unusual.
I remember my dad coming home from work and I guess it just must be this one time. It felt like he did it all the time, but he brought roses home for my mom.
Aww.
And I remember them standing in the kitchen. Kissing. Like he brought the roses, he gave them to my mom, and then they put them up in front of their faces so that we couldn't see them kissing, but you knew they were kissing.
Yeah.
So kind of like that smacking on the ass kind of a thing, but that's not, the roses in front of the face is not mortified. I was just like, oh, how romantic.
It's so cute.
Obviously, because I remember it,
I mean, I wouldn't have any problem with my kids seeing me I mean, maybe not like French kissing or something.
Well, yeah.
Kissing or so, I don't think it's any big deal. They'd go, ew, that's gross, when they were little, and now probably would too. Just like, I could just picture them going, get a room, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I say that to them sometimes when it's not really, it's not like they're doing anything and they look at me like, what? They're not even doing anything.
Do you feel like how you were brought up, you have a very different feel about this kind of a thing now?
I've thought about this because
has some of it carried through?
I think the way I look at it, and I think this is probably from incidents that have taken place in the past, I don't really remember.
Yeah.
But to me, it's more about like a classy thing. I would be mortified if I saw my daughter out on the street making out with her boyfriend. I would be like, oh,
yeah.
Just because I want to protect her, I don't want to say her reputation, but
what about bumping and grinding on the dance floor?
Well, I guess we all kind of do that, but that's different.
Why?
Well, it depends. I mean, if we're basically,
bumping and grinding, that's
okay. There's
much,
extreme versions of that. I know,
but in general, we all know what it is when we're doing it.
Okay, remember when we went to the R&B only thing? R&B only with Eileen and.
No, you two went there.
No, we've been a couple times. So Eileen and I went one time, and then
to the fun one.
We went to the really good one.
Yeah,
and then
I went to the.
You went to the bad one. But anyway, it's not about whether it was bad or not. But do you remember the people that were there, like around us, and they were couples or whatever? Yeah. Oh my God, it was like an orgy with clothes on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That to me seems like a lot.
Well,
I would never do that.
I know, but you were just I only say that because you bring up your daughter making out with her boyfriend in public,
which she would never do. But, I know, but hypothetically, speaking,
and how that would make you feel.
Yeah,
and so we don't need to think about levels of bumping and grinding.
But there are levels
bumping and grinding, and there's levels of making out too.
True.
So bumping and grinding in general, like, do you think you'd feel the same way if you were at a nightclub with your daughter, like in Nashville or something, and she was bumping and grinding on the dance floor with her boyfriend? Would that Or would that feel different?
I think that would feel different.
Yeah, because of the environment.
Right.
You're in that kind of environment.
Yeah, where it's like you're dancing.
Vibing and drinking, and then you wouldn't care because you've had a few.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, bring it on. I don't even think that, I mean, even with all of that I would even probably, I don't know. To me, it's just, and I think it's what was ingrained in me in the past is it's about being classy and about being just like, I don't know, a lady, however you want to say it that way. But I don't know. I've just been very careful about that.
Levels of comfort. It's levels of comfort.
I have no issue with PDA in regard to, I think it's wonderful when people hold hands or if they're giving each other a kiss or, whatever. But like full on making out in the parking lot.
That's because it makes you feel that way.
Right. It just would not it's happened to me. I've done that before.
Me too.
And I mean, there's been
not make out. No, I haven't done it before.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I've seen it
before. Not on purpose. It would just kind of, like I told you, it was in one of the episodes that I had mentioned that this dude that I'd gone out with, I went out with him a few times.
Yeah.
But he did that. He did that maybe the second time we went out. And I was just like, what the hell? What are you doing?
Like, where were you?
We were downtown.
I know, but like by the car, in the restaurant?
Outside, remember the little pull you into the alcove thing?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but we weren't even in an alcove, I don't think, with that. But it was more kind of like, like, hey, cool your jets kind of a thing. I mean, I think he was kind of offended because I was like, no, this is not
into it.
No, this is not cool.
See, that's what I mean. There's like everybody has a different experience with it and level of comfort. But just like you were saying, I think there's a lot of different religious aspects that do ingrain a certain level of this in us.
Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right on that front.
And not just Catholic and Mormon.
No, you look at any religion really, and we'll talk about a few of these here, but any religion that I can even think of, being chaste and, women being pure and not having sex before marriage and even to the fundamental thing about holding your hand or giving you
chaste, kiss. Like I envisioned being chased by a guy. Like chaste.
No, being a good girl.
Yeah.
I think girls are chaste.
Well, that's like, that's like in the Mormon religion.
What's it called? The chaste rule or something?
The law of chastity.
Oh, law of chastity. Do they put a belt on you?
So the law of chastity is what is referred to in the Mormon church. And essentially, sex is not okay outside unless you're married, unless a man and a woman are married.
So they have to be
okay.
They have to be opposite sex too. Obviously, that's definitely in the Mormon church.
Yep.
Well, I think it's any church,
a lot
really.
of churches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a new thing that's come out in the last few years where people are actually discussing it, where they just didn't discuss it before.
No pun intended. Coming out, you said?
Oh, yeah. Coming out. Oh,
a new thing that's
good
coming
catch.
out.
Good catch. Although I will say that I have noticed, and I don't know why I've noticed this. I remember seeing this church up on Capitol Hill a couple weeks ago when I was up there, and there was one over here in Shoreline, not far from our house, that all have
rainbow flags
hanging. Which means that they're welcoming people into their church. Well,
they have to. I mean,
no, they don't have. Well,
they kind of do.
They're freaking hypocrites if they don't. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
But they're quote welcoming them. But are they really welcoming them?
They're having to open their doors just because.
So we love you as a person. We just don't love what you're doing, kind of a thing.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, at least they're doing that.
Yes. Oh no,
because,
I know.
they're not getting killed because they're gay, like in some other religions or whatever. Well, kind of going back to that, public displays of affection with same-sex people. I remember the first time I saw that, it was like I was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because it's just not something you normally would see.
Right.
And now you obviously see that a little bit more. But I mean, I can think back on being out with people who were gay or couples or whatever. And when they would hold hands or whatever, I was like, oh, that just seemed odd to me. Because I didn't really, because you'd see them in different environments.
It's probably like interracial couples doing that in the 70s is probably like it is now. It's like they would do it, but you would see it and you'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
And now same sex, it's kind of the same thing because we're just getting going on this, people. And
And like you said, everybody's comfort level is going to be a little bit different. So if you were raised with really free love environment, people that raised you, you're going to maybe look at it a lot different than if you were raised
like if your parents were like living it up during the sexual revolution, which we talked about just last week.
Exactly. They might look at it a little bit differently, but I do know people that, were very free spirits during that time frame, and they have children now and they don't look at it exactly the same. I mean, the kids are grown now, but
because they know some of the shenanigans.
Yeah. But they also, it's like you're looking at it like this is your kid. Now, they wouldn't necessarily, this one person I'm thinking of wouldn't necessarily try to do things differently, certainly wouldn't say things to his daughters that would make them feel like they're doing something wrong, but would maybe have a conversation about it. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? Yeah. I mean, there was no conversation about anything, when we were growing up. It was more kind of that's negative.
I think because you knew, for me, growing up in a religious household, and the things that you're learning at church and that are being taught to you, I'm not saying they're bad or they're good or whatever, but you feel like you're going to be in so much trouble for doing these things that are very normal. And so you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to disappoint. And so
you're trying to figure out where
you do it on the down low. I was holding hands in the hallways at school. I was making out at parties over at friend's house, or just going over to visit a friend and making out, probably more than I needed to. But, I would probably be more at that time, like, oh my gosh, if my parents knew.
Yeah, same.
Right?
Same.
Because then we'd have to go see the bishop, and then there's that
for making out.
Well, no, I'm just saying if it gets carried away and more things happen.
Oh God, none of that was going to happen. I was terrified of what would happen to me, how I would get thrown out of the house or whatever. I would never have I would never have had sex.
Yeah, like the wrath of all different kinds of things.
Yeah.
So
you do what you can to kind of avoid that. At least I did. So at least until I got a little older.
Pretty much in the United States, here in the Western world, most forms of PDA are acceptable. I mean, we see it. Except for when folks are getting sexually explicit. Have you ever had sex in public? Let's just ask that question.
Yeah, but it was in public. Well, actually, it's kind of funny. It was on a cliff. The one time I'm thinking of, overlooking Lake Tahoe. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anybody else was around. But I think there were some people like over on another cliff or something.
Feeling a little brave there.
Yeah, feeling a little brave and just, throwing caution to the wind.
So
that's the only That's the only thing I'm going to tell you about. How about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I have.
So that's your big old public display of infection.
That's my story.
That means she does it all the time.
No.
Or she used to.
But I have. But hence, everything being pretty acceptable, except for getting to the explicits. And then I don't even know, like, what would you do if you saw somebody? What would you even do? Like, maybe somebody did see you on that cliff and they just like jaw dropping, didn't know what to do.
Hopefully they didn't videotape anything.
So it's like, what would you do?
I'm just thinking, it's like if I saw people think about it. It's like when I worked at Nordstrom, people were like getting it on the fitting room sometimes, or you go to clubs or, places of establishments and people are in the bathroom for a really long period of time, that kind of stuff. It happens all the time.
Right.
Whether it's out in the middle of anything, I'd be like, get a fucking room.
Yeah,
I probably would.
I
don't need to see you like slobbering all over her or him over whatever. I just, I don't really need, but I might not say anything.
I don't know what Usher song, in the club.
Oh,
Make Love in the Club. Isn't that Usher song?
Is that what it's about?
Yeah.
Taking the girl to the bathroom?
Well, no, just in general. They don't care who's around, who's seeing, It's
Figures
just like,
it's an Usher song, and he's like STD king. So nothing surprises me there.
Anyway,
so Western world,
PDA in the Western world.
Yeah, I do agree. I think in the Western world, and again, we're not talking specifically about one area. I think it varies from state to state, let's say, because you have more conservative views on just things in general. Like, think the Bible Belt, for God's sake.
Right.
That this is not something that's probably going to be really well received. Maybe the holding hand thing would be not the case. I mean, I can't imagine any of that other stuff would be okay, with some young girl with her parents giving. I mean, I just can't see that being an okay thing.
If you think about it, what feels a little more risque is, so you could be at a park and you see two people laying on a blanket in the grass and maybe they're kissing.
Okay.
Right? And then you could be at a beach and you got a couple laying on a big towel and they're kissing. It seems a little more risque because they don't have as many clothes on.
Well, if he was
know
on
what I
top
mean?
of her
Well,
or
I'm
she was
just
on top of
saying,
him, that might be different.
I'm just saying, when you see two people fully clothed kissing in the park, it doesn't seem as risque as you see two people half naked doing the same thing on the beach. I just am making that comparison. Different levels of PDA.
Yeah, so make
And
sure
how you
Michelle's
feel
saying,
about
please wear your clothes, is what she's saying.
To the beach.
To the beach, yeah. Yeah, I do believe there are different levels of things. And like I said, I think there's a real innocent level to that too.
In China.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the U.S. here, but in China, it is unacceptable for
public displays at all?
Public displays of affection of the opposite sex at all is regarded as unacceptable.
Even if you're married or something. It's just
they're not gonna, who's going to know?
I don't know. I'm just saying, they know.
Who's they?
They, meaning the people that are having the public displays of affection.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect the people around you.
I know, but I'm saying it's cultural. If we're saying it's a cultural thing, then in that culture, people know that that's not cool. And so you're not going to really run across it.
Would do it. Like if we'll just pretend we're married and hold hands.
So even when they're married, they probably...
I would say because of how the culture is.
Okay.
So
it's just not something that people are comfortable doing at all in the culture.
I think because it's in general, that culture
right.
it's a very respectful,
Well,
sure.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of them like that. Like in India, I think it's very similar. I mean, even today there are still arranged marriages and things happening, and people are chaperoned on dates and things of that nature. Now, to the degree I don't know,
right?
But it's the same thing.
I probably could have used more of that.
Chaperoning?
Yeah, when I was younger.
You mean after you were 18 or 19?
Just chaperoning in general. When I was dating, that's all I'm saying.
You were such an angel.
I'm teasing. No, but yeah.
Okay, good.
But yes, in India, affection between same sex is acceptable.
So like mom and
I think you
sisters
see that
or something
culturally. Yeah, you see these families because they're very multi-generational in how they interact.
Right.
They live in the same household, things like that.
I mean, I guess I've noticed it's because I'm on my dad's side of the family, they're not really affectionate people at all. But I would say on my mom's side of the family, they're Latin, and I'm just thinking, I'm having memories of this, not today, but just in the past. They're just more open to hugging and kissing, and it's just more of an affectionate environment, or it had been more of an affectionate environment. So it seemed normal.
Not infectious.
Not infectious, yeah. But in my own household, even with I've always been very kissy and very, like huggy. I'm a huggy person anyway. But now I'm looking at them and they're not like that.
Your
really.
kids?
No, not really. I think it probably maybe makes them, I make them hug me. Like I saw Andrew today, and he gives me a hug and he says, "I love you, Mom," that kind of thing. And Zoe too, she will, but it's not like it's not like something that comes very naturally.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, "Give me a hug."
Right.
Jared's my hugger. He's the one that will hug for sure.
Well, it sounds like they all hug.
No, it's more like if I didn't do it, it wouldn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a thing.
It's probably the same.
Yeah.
For me. I mean, I have boys.
Well, I just am like, not going to, I'll take the opportunity. And if you don't like it, then you can just tell me.
They do hug me. For me, it's when Mom wants to take pictures. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Do they roll their eyes?
Well, just because it's not often we have all of us together. So when I have the four of them together, I always like to try to get a picture just because it's a moment, you know? But yes, they're more annoyed
Andrew will
with that
not,
than they are my hugs.
He will not stand for pictures. None of them.
That's how my oldest is, but he does it. He just doesn't smile.
Yeah, they don't smile or whatever. I'm like, I remember doing that with my dad and going, no, I don't want to be in the picture. I don't want to be in the video or whatever. And he, now I look back on that, I'm like, I really wish I wouldn't have done that because there would be more stuff out there.
Hey, where's Julie?
Yeah. No, he was always taking the pictures and stuff, but I would cover my face. I think that was the thing I would always do, is cover my face. And why did I do that? I don't know. But anyway, going back to the public displays of affection, how do you feel that attitudes are toward like interracial relationships and how they're affected by PDA?
I think that is strongly affected based on interpretations of the public.
Okay.
Within the context of where you are geographically, I would imagine. Because, perceptions of others and what their attitude is just towards interracial relationships in general. That's a whole thing in itself. So then you add that layer of physical contact between two people in public, there's just a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
That it's just like extra things you have to think about when you're in an interracial relationship.
Well, you know that, I mean, having been in one, I know that people definitely, I mean, I guess I tried not to pay that close of attention to it, but people definitely noticed, I would say. I don't remember getting any weird comments or anything like that.
I did earlier on because I got my husband and I, when we got married, it was in 1987.
Yeah.
And we lived in Spokane, and it was,
very vanilla there.
It's very vanilla there, very conservative there. And I was a waitress at the time when we were dating. And I'll never forget one time he came in to see me and he was sitting in the back because it was like an empty where they would have large groups and stuff, and nobody was back there. So he went back there because I was busy. He was waiting for me. I went back there for a minute and I was chatting with him. And one of my tables had asked them, they talked to the manager and they didn't want me to bring out their food because I had touched him while I was back there. I put my hand on his back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I said, there's just these extra layers of things. Like at that time, I didn't even think about it. I'm just back there talking to my boyfriend, you know?
And it kind of comes back to these whole...
But how people perceive and see that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, and it all, again, goes back to, if you think of all the different branches of people's upbringing and their perception of things and all their experiences, those all play well into this. And it comes back to, I used the word earlier about judgment. And I would like to say I'm not a judgy person, but what I recognize that what I said was judgy. And it's like, it's not judgy like punitively. It's more like, it's just my comfort level. So I'm kind of like, ooh, get a room. Because to me, it's kind of like just not putting yourself in the best light. And I think about that more from probably how I was told and, you know, what I would want for people that I just want them to be, I just want my kids, like, for example, to be just classy. I don't want to be feeling trashy because I'm making out with some person on a it's just not my style, you know? I mean, I have no problem kissing. I have no problem hugging, any of that, but I think if it goes too far, I'm super uncomfortable. And it has happened where I've just, like I mentioned before, gone, whoa, back it up.
I just know that if I started making out with Rick, you know, there comes a certain point where he wouldn't be able to stop me. So then it would just go from there. So we just choose not to kiss in public.
Oh, is that the reason?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that one.
See, these interracial couples have to, you know, we have to like strategically have these strategies.
Maybe that's why he pulled me into the doorway.
What?
Maybe that's why that guy pulled me into the doorway.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Like pushed me up against the wall. Didn't we talk about that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rick's he's all calm and cool and collected out in public. Maybe hold her hand and they get inside the door and he's got her up against the wall. Hands above her head.
Wow.
She is submitting right now. Yeah, because he just, Sorry, Rick. I just had a little fantasy for Michelle.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That. Whew, hot.
Anyway, I can see that interracial would definitely, I mean, I've experienced it, not obviously to the degree that you have, but I go back to the whole, you know, that saying, you hear me say, messy hair don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, why do I give a shit?
Right.
Why would anybody give a shit? And I think really what it comes down to is what your comfort level is. And if your comfort level is not engaging in like a makeout sesh, you know, and I say this as a grown ass woman, it almost sounds like juvenile to even say it, but it does happen where you see that taking place. I'm like, you know, knock yourself out, have a kiss, do whatever. But it's like, really just, you know, have some poise about you. That's where my judgy part comes in.
Yeah.
And I can't help it. Sorry.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah. It's just is what it is.
You can be judgy.
Well, I try not to be judgy, but I think if I recognize that it's something
you could think about how much these two people care and love each other too.
Oh.
And look at how into each other they are.
Oh, see, that's a nice that's a nice spin, Michelle.
I mean,
hopefully they know each other.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
I think as far as PDA goes with same sex, moving on from interracial, same sex, that can be, I think it's something that we're seeing more of.
Yeah.
And which, hooray, good for same sex couples, finally.
But in truth be told, I can't say that I've really run across a lot of same-sex couples that have like
I know,
extensive
that's what
PDA.
I think too, back to, I guess there's some crossover with interracial. I'll just bring up like in the 70s, probably didn't see as much even hand holding with couples that were interracial,
Right.
for the stigma and just like that extra layer of stuff that you probably don't want to have to deal with.
Right.
Same thing for gay couples now.
Yeah.
We're just getting to a point where they're feeling hopefully comfortable being able to do that in public.
But the same thing would apply. In my mind, it's like, I don't really care if it's an interracial couple, if it is a gay couple, if it is, a heterosexual, I don't really care. It's like when I look at the levels like we're talking about, it would be, in my mind, the same thing applies. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. I was just making the comparison of the time.
I'm just saying
history.
It's like when I'm looking at my perception of these things, they're not that different. It's more like to the level. The levels are
It's definitely the levels of PDA.
And so it makes me kind of wonder. It's like I've never really considered myself to be really conservative in nature, but then, well, I should take that back. I have been that way. I think I've kind of outgrown it honestly, to some degree, but there are still some things that definitely apply. This is one of them. Maybe I'm old fashioned that way. I've never used that word with myself. You use it with yourself. I just don't use that word with myself. But in that regard, it's more kind of like, I don't even know how to say it. It goes back to that whole level of classiness. Like do you really need to be?
You just like the word classy instead of old fashioned.
Well, at least I didn't say smexy. Are you looking at those as synonymous?
Well, I mean, it could mean the same thing depending on the context in which you're speaking of. And I think the context that you're talking about this, I think it could mean the same thing, being classy or old fashioned. There was a time when, call it old fashioned, back in the day, whatever, where this kind of thing was totally under wraps. Yeah. And you just didn't do that stuff. That's hence the sexual revolution, like we talked about.
You mean people were more, I won't say frigid, but they were more...
They kept it all on the down low.
Repressed. That's the word I'm looking for.
Repressed. That's just how it was back in that day. I'm talking about the 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And...
Oh, yeah. They were like used merchandise if they were...
You're talking about women.
Women,
now.
yeah. I mean, we've had that conversation.
In general, couples.
But I think women, it was more like women are chaste. The women are more conservative with what they allow, that kind of thing. Because whether we like it or not, it's like their reputation would be the one that would be impacted. Like going back to the 40s or 50s or 60s, even today.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Old fashioned, or were they classy? Were they classy by not
engaging? Where everybody could see. Yeah. It's not to say they don't engage.
I know, that's for sure.
I'm just saying,
we've established that. Yeah, we have established that.
I'm just saying maybe, in front of everybody else.
But yeah, so I mean, you're a little bougie, so you can use the word classy. You're just classy.
I mean, it's bougie's a little bit in a
you
little
have a
different
drink
context. Oh, bougie basil bomb.
Yeah.
I know that is my favorite. If we ever open our place, we'll have that as a signature craft cocktail.
More to come on that.
We're not telling anybody because I don't want them. No, we're not telling anybody.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want anybody to do that.
But yeah, so...
Another one of my harebrained ideas.
Old-fashioned, classy. I think they're one and the same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about like Middle Eastern culture. Do you feel like it's more severe in how women and men interact?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't historically know a lot. I just know what I've seen and kind of what I hear in the media, which I don't know how accurate that is. But, or, you see the women with their faces covered. Yeah. And, there's just like not that interaction.
Those are really super strict Muslim religion or, sects, I guess. SECT, sex.
Yeah.
Not SEX.
Yeah. You're interchanging these words with the chaste and the sex.
I don't know. You just have your mind in the gutter. I know. I think that's what's going on here. Yeah. I think women are more, I would say, required in that culture to be kind of that whole be seen and not heard, covered up for sure. More, people
not
don't
that
touch
it's a bad
them.
Thing. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I think that's what's, and frankly, virgins. But that's the same everywhere. It's just, if they're not, nobody loses sleep over it here.
Right.
It's just, that's the difference, I think. Anyway.
What about social media?
Oh, man.
How do you think that, I mean, as far as relationships go and...
Well, think about it. It's like old people have Facebook. Nobody else really has it besides the older generation, really, right?
She's speaking about us.
Yeah, I
old
have
people.
it, but I use more Instagram. But I mean, I use them both because
It's
a
a
lot of the
different
people we
audience.
know are on Facebook.
There's a different audience. Yeah.
It's a younger audience, I think, on
on
and then get
Instagram.
into TikTok. They're barely out of diapers
I mean,
on TikTok.
yeah. So yeah, I would say boomers / Gen Xers are Facebook, and then the millennials and the Zs are definitely Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've transitioned. Like you use
yeah.
Instagram almost exclusively. I
Yeah.
mean, I have stuff that saves over to Facebook. But anyway, going back to this posting, there's so many different things with social media that have to do with the relationship status, or if someone's picture is posted with another person, or they profess their love to someone and it's done on social media. It's more, you've heard that term, is it Facebook official?
Right.
Yeah. That's what they're talking about. But it makes me kind of wonder
FBO.
sometimes.
Did you know that was a
Facebook official?
Yeah.
Is that
FBO. Are y'all FBO yet?
Well, and then it's like if some people aren't into social media, like they have an account, say, but they don't even know how to use it. Theirs might still say single,
right?
And they're not single, but people look at that and they're very literal about it. And posting things on there about public displays of affection, or the timing of when things are posted, or the frequency of when things are posted directly relate to whether someone feels that person's into them or not.
Right.
I mean, how many likes they got, all this shit that I'm just kind of like, oh my God. I mean, you've got a good channel, if you've got, likes and all this thing coming at it. But I definitely, I wouldn't say all generations, but a lot of people look at the relationship progressing differently, in different increments and stuff when it comes to social media, because in a world where think about it, in a world where there wasn't social media, none of this stuff applied.
Well, I think the same is in effect as far as the different levels. I think in life, in real life and out there, there's different levels of what affections we're displaying. And it's the same with social media, because social media is such a thing of everyday life. I think there's different levels. For example, I can think of a couple who literally, like, you were able to watch their dating experience, them getting to know each other. It was like a love story, getting to know each other, going out to eat together, following him on the trip to where he proposed to her. And that whole moment, like everything about their entire relationship was out there. And it almost, I can see how it could make somebody else feel like, well, geez, how into
my life sucks so bad.
How into me is he? Like,
right. He doesn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
But people are more private, So I think to that same degree, that couple would be the ones making out in the park.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
and
right.
The ones without anything are the one, just holding hands.
So do you think people, that focus, like overthink and focus on relationship status and what someone is posting and when they're posting it and who they're sharing it with and all that stuff, do you think that person tends to be more possessive, maybe, or territorial?
Absolutely.
I would say that, I would argue too that it's like that they're kind of insecure
in a relationship.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we all know it's like you get to know somebody. It's like eventually you get into their social media. Some people, they're in their social media before they even really get to know them at all. They're LinkedIn. It's not just Facebook or Instagram. There's other platforms too, TikTok, that sort of thing that people are into. But yeah, I mean, I know people that pay really close attention to who's followed them and who's hearted their stuff and who's commenting. And like, I don't even pay attention to that stuff.
And as far as establishing a relationship, I think too, back to what you were saying, as far as possessive, it could, I can see those tendencies for somebody that's always wanting to take the pictures and post, take the pictures and post, take the pictures. It's like establishing validity on the fact that they have this relationship.
It's like they're trying to prove something.
I think is another component of what they're, a part of what that relationship is for them in a way, weirdly.
Well, and then if the one person's doing a lot of that and the other person's not doing any of it.
And I do more. I mean, I do more than Rick. I don't.
Well, you're more into it. Yeah.
I'm more into it. And I do put pictures of us up. Not a lot. It's pretty rare, but I do. There's an occasional picture. He's not as much. He's very private.
Yeah.
In regard to that kind of stuff, which I totally respect.
Yeah.
And it's not, so again, those different levels I just think are a part of what the world has to deal with now. Not only talking about PDA, but there's that, and just in general, it's a whole other layer on relationships.
So what is your general take on all of it with PDA? I know you said there's levels. I know we have got upbringing. Where is your comfort level lie, I guess, with it?
Well, I mean,
not take Rick out of the equation for a second.
No. Yeah, I know. You were talking about be seen and not heard. Y'all are making out in the park. I don't mind seeing you. I just don't want to hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's okay to a certain degree. I'm with you, Jules. If I saw my son making out on the corner or just like out in public somewhere, I think it would be more uncomfortable because it's my son.
Right.
If he's comfortable doing it and it is just kissing and not heavy making out, I think it's cool with anybody. It would be uncomfortable when it's my son, but that's different. I think that's different when you see that and it's your son.
And what about you?
Me, what?
I mean, what's your comfort level?
I don't mind a hug, and it's like, Rick and I live 2,000 miles apart, so we go to the airport.
I can't even believe you guys ever leave the house.
I just make, when we go to the airport, obviously there's a kiss.
They have to go to the airport, people.
There's a
she has to pick them up, and they've got to go back.
There's a hug there, but in general, it's holding hands and arm in arm. There's nothing more really for us as far as PDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I wouldn't be comfortable.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was kind of getting at. I wanted to see what your comfort level would be, because if he was more open to that.
I mean, I do remember a date earlier on when I was being a little alpha, I think, kissing him. We were at a restaurant.
Yeah.
But we were in a booth and it was new, and, we were just getting to know each other. And I do remember kissing him while we were sitting in the booth, and I could tell he was not a fan.
Okay.
So there's that too, getting to know somebody. And so obviously I was feeling okay about it.
How many Tito's did you have?
But I mean, it wasn't.
I'm just kidding.
Grotesque, but yeah. So there's a lot of layers.
I know.
Really
and I already kind of told you what I'm comfortable with. So it's just a matter of, not overstepping that boundary, and I'm cool. Mm-hmm. If I overstep that boundary, I'm just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's not because, like I was saying before, it's not like I'm a prude or anything. I just there's a place and a time.
Mm-hmm. Get a room.
Get a room.
Back to
exactly.
that.
It's like, let's get a room.
Keep it in the room, people.
Yeah.
And on that note, just keep it real, people. Remember to find a blonde, a brunette, and a mic out on all the socials. And when you decide to take a listen, which should be every week, remember to download.
And one more thing, don't forget,
get a room.
Bye, y'all.
Take care, everybody. Bye.